Okay, section 8.6, writing linear equations. Okay, now I think of this section, in fact I wrote it wrong just a second ago. I don't think of 8.6 as writing linear equations. I think of it as name that function. Okay, and how, almost like a game, right? If I'm going to name that function, I need two things. I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. And my y-intercept is b and my slope is m, correct? So when we go to do section 8.6, they have us name that function a couple different ways. The first way they do is they say, write the linear equation when you have a slope of 1/3 and a y-intercept of -3. Okay, well I have what I need to name that function. My slope is 1/3, y equals 1/3 x, and my y-intercept is -3, -3. Just one example there of the easiest method, because I tell you the slope, I tell you the y-intercept, you put it in. Then they gave you some different information to name that function. They gave you a picture. Okay? Only thing I need to name the function though is the slope and the y-intercept. So I can count my slope. 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise over run. So my slope is equal to 1/4 in this case. And my y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So this time it's at -2. So I can name that function. Y equals 1/4 x minus 2. Or, in this case, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's no accident I picked this one. If my slope is 4 over 4, I went down, oh, that's -4 over 4. And 4 over 4 is equal to -1. A lot of trouble today simplifying those, right? 4 over 4 would be 1. -4 over 4 is -1. And where does it cross the y-axis? My b is equal to, whoops, there should have been a b. My b is equal to 3. b equals 3. So when I name that function, y equals -x plus 3. That's naming it from a picture. Okay? Calculate your slope, rise over run, figure out where it crosses the y-axis. Then, the third thing they had you do is they didn't give you a picture, or they didn't tell you the slope. They said to find the function when given 2 points, right? If I'm given 2 points, what do I need to do? Well, they're nicely creating a situation for you, and that they're giving you one of the points as the y-intercept. And I think a few of you thought that it was always the first point. That's not the case. It's the one that has 0. When x is 0, it'll fall on the y-axis. So see, anytime x is 0, it stays on the y-axis, so that's my y-intercept. 2 points. Now, what do I have to do? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives me my slope. And here we got into a little bit of trouble, so this will be 7 minus -3, y minus y, over x minus x. So minus a negative plus a positive, that's that gain in disguise. I get 10 over 4, which I can simplify to 5/2. So I know my slope. What's my y-intercept? -3. Y equals 5/2 x minus 3. So I can do this if I'm told the information. I can figure out the information from a picture. I can figure out the slope and the y-intercept if I'm given 2 points. Finally, they gave you name that function when you're told that a line is parallel or possibly perpendicular to another line. But they also gave you a point. So I have a line parallel to y equals 2x plus 7 that goes through the point 0, -5. Or I have a line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/7 x plus 2, and the line goes through the point 0, 6. Okay, so you know you've been given your y-intercept. You can easily figure out your slope from what they've told you. parallel lines have the same slope. So then if my line is going to be parallel to this line, it has the same slope. The y-intercept, I'm told, -5. So this is the equation to the line parallel to this one that passes through this point. Parallel because it has the same slope, passes through that point, so I know it's my y-intercept. Perpendicular, opposite and reciprocal. It was positive, I make it negative. It was 1/7, I make it 7/1. And then I kind of cross out that 7/1 because I don't need it. 7/1 is the same thing as 7. So y equals -7x, opposite reciprocal when it's perpendicular, plus 6. And that is, depending on how you count it, 4 or 5 different ways to name that function.